Joining us now on our WTMY Artist Spotlight, great to welcome a woman who was in our area a few years ago. I had the pleasure of introducing her at the Sarasota Jazz Festival, and she has a brand new CD out, great jazz singer and musician. We're joined today by Carol Welsman from up in Canada today. We're going to talk about what she's been up to. I know she has a brand new CD out called Alone Together, and Carol, good to talk to you. I know it's been a few years since we saw you down here, but good to chat with you. How have you been?
It's true. Well, it's a great pleasure for me to chat with you, and I'm just recovering from a laryngitis bug, which is probably the singer's worst enemy. But I'm really on the mend, so I'm thrilled.
The singer's worst enemy and the announcer's worst enemy. So both of our businesses, it's no good.
That's absolutely true. Oh my gosh, I was texting my husband across the table in a restaurant on Sunday night when I got back to LA, and I just thought this was, it was really. Anyway, I'm on the mend and glad to be with you.
Now, I've heard singers say, though, now maybe not through laryngitis, but if they have a cold, there's a way you can kind of either sing above it or below it. Is there any truth to that? I've heard singers say that.
Well, actually, yes. I was in the South Carolina Jazz Festival on Saturday night, in fact, in Cheraw, South Carolina, and I flew in on Friday night, and I knew that I was coming down with this thing, and there was nothing I could do, all the tea and honey and ginger and all those things. But there was nothing I could do to prevent it, except that I have to say that I got through the concert. So I think you're right. I think it's just I had to kind of sing around some of the funky areas that I felt I thought, oh, gee, I'm not sure I can hit that note, so I think I'll just hit a third down from that. But I was able to make it through, and people didn't really know. And right after the concert, my voice was completely gone. Very strange.
I've had that happen where you sometimes we do broadcast football games and the voice isn't there with a cold or allergies. You sort of talk under it and you can get through it.
Sure.
Something happens, I guess, when the mic comes on.
You're right, and you just talk at a lower level or whatever. There's a way of trying to prevent anything worse happening. So, and I luckily have only I've got a concert Friday night and then some next week, but I've got some time to recoup.
Well, that's good. And again, as I mentioned, you were down here a few years ago for the Jazz Festival. I remember that was a kind of a crazy schedule you had. I believe you did a gig up in Canada or somewhere up north the night before, and the plane didn't get in till just a few hours before you had to do two shows back-to-back, an afternoon and evening show. Remember that day?
I do. It was pretty hairy, and I'm sure it was probably weather-related or something, because obviously if I was up in Canada, there was probably lots of snow, and sometimes you can't. I like to get in a day before, during that season, because it's just a lot safer. But I don't think we had that luxury.
Now that was a kind of a crazy. I mean, the shows were great, but I remember you had said, because we spoke a little before you went on. I introduced you, and you had just gotten in maybe 5 in the morning because you did a gig the previous night, and you had to do an afternoon show and then an evening show. So, but I guess that's the life of a singer, I guess.
I guess. Well, usually we try and make sure that doesn't happen, but you never know. I mean, that's the thing, is I'm sure it was something that couldn't be moved, and the show had to go on. So, and I love Florida. I mean, I'll come back anytime.
We got to get you back down here. I know. Get you over with the Jazz Festival again, because that's coming up the next March. I don't know if it can be due this year, but we'll definitely have to get you back down here. And first of all, I want to congratulate you on the CD. Alone Together is the title track and the name of it. Talk a little bit about how that project came together.
Well, I have a friend named Corey Allen, who's a great pianist and a wonderful producer, and he has followed my career for quite a few years, and he's wanted to work with me. And he finally came and said, "Why don't we go to New York and have you record a real jazz album? Like, let's go back to your jazz roots and really focus on keeping this very, very much down the traditional jazz alley." And so that's exactly what we did. And he put together the band for me with Rufus Reed on bass and Louis Nash on drums and Wallace Romey on trumpet. And I had such a ball playing with these guys. So I spent about 4 months before we recorded last year coming up with arrangements. And I really wanted to challenge myself and come up with things that are with different time meters and things that I don't often do. And I think I met that goal. I think we've got a smattering of all of that and more, and a vocalese piece, and just some and pieces by jazz composers like McCoy Tyner and Duke Ellington, and not just the typical show tunes.
You get some great cuts on there. We're going to play a few on the station here, interspersed with our conversation today. And the Blues are out of town. You got Day by Day, My Ship, some great numbers there, and of course the title track, Alone Together. So you got a good mix of different types of jazz.
Well, it was. They all have a special meaning to me, and I went to Berklee College of Music back when, and most of these songs date from that time because they were songs that I never recorded, and I thought, well, I think I've got to brush some of these off and give them another world, and that's what I did. So.
And for those people that may not have seen you before down here, you're from Canada, and growing up in Canada, I'm not sure it's the same as New York. I grew up in New York listening to a station called WNEW, which played all these types of songs. Did you have a station up there? I know you kind of gravitated toward this music quite young yourself, right?
It's true. We do have a very good jazz station locally in Toronto, but it wasn't around when I was. It was just a college station when I was younger. But I have to say, my father was the one who really influenced me about getting into jazz because he played. He was a big band nut. He loved Duke Ellington and Count Basie, Woody Herman. And I didn't see Duke Ellington, but I saw Count Basie and Woody Herman when they'd come to town. I'd go at the age of 12, and I'm the only daughter. I have 3 brothers, so of course I was Daddy's little girl, and anything I said went. So if I said I'm coming along, he'd say fine. And so it was really fun because we got to spend a lot of time together, and I learned a lot of the standards from my dad because he knew them all.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I guess we're on the same age. We're fortunate enough to at least to see the guys that were still working. Count Basie was still working, although it was toward the end of his career, obviously. Woody Herman and some of those guys. And you get to see those bands, like the Benny Goodman Orchestra, they would still travel, even though Benny wasn't around anymore. So you got to see that and hear that kind of music in concert, which helped me a lot just to kind of get more out of this music. And I guess the same with you, right?
Sure, exactly. I mean, it was that's a pretty nice foundation to build on, and so I have a real appreciation for that. And then also Peggy Lee and a lot of the singers, Sinatra and Jobim, all of his music my dad used to play. But it's funny. One of the things I have brought into my style, because there's a lot of singers and piano players, but one of the things I do that dates back to that beginning of the sort of the big band shout chorus kind of thing is when I solo, I sing the top line almost like the trumpet part in my improvisation, and I play block chord solos almost like a big band. And so it's kind of fun because actually Sand in My Shoes on the new album has a little bit of that in the solo. You'd hear that. So it's something that I've been told not many piano players do, or singer piano players anyway. So that's something that came right from that beginning influence.
Yeah, you're one of the rare performers that, for most of your show, you accompany yourself, right? I guess sometimes you'll stand up and just sing, but you accompany yourself on the piano most of the time.
Oh, yeah, I really do. I mean, I'm really at one with the piano, and in fact, there's a little bit of a tie-in with the theme of the album and the title song, Alone Together, because I often say to people, when I was younger, I could sit alone. I was together with my music, and I would create the palette on which to sing. I would play the piano, and I had the foundation of I didn't need to call anybody to accompany me. It was kind of fun. But I do love working with all the musicians. I mean, wow, it's just so much more fun with the big, the trio behind me. Wow.
You mentioned Peggy Lee as a great influence, and we play a lot of her on the station. And you look back at some of her appearances on the old variety shows like Dean Martin and stuff. Well, she really had her own unique style. She was a very talented composer as well. Wrote a lot of her own hits, but really a unique type of singer. So I can see where you got a lot of the influence from her.
Oh, So she was always my dad's favorite, and I study her because of that. I thought, well, what is it that he really sees in her and hears in her? And of course, it was so very obvious from the beginning. And in fact, I did a Peggy Lee tribute album back in 2008 called "I Like Men." Peggy Lee. And that song is so cute. If your listeners ever want to tune in on YouTube, put in Carol Welsman, "I Like Men." We shot a 5-minute music video, and I interview men on my couch, and I ask them the same questions, and they give me 8 different answers. So it's pretty fun. But it's all based on that song, and she wrote the lyrics. So yeah, I'm very much in awe of her because of the fact that she was not only a great singer but also a composer.
She could really swing, but it was so understated. I never saw anybody else sing quite like her.
You're absolutely right, and that's what my dad just, she had that sort of, that real sex appeal, and you're right, it was the subtle, she, with the flick of a finger, or just the wink of an eye, or she'd look away, and wow, she just stole the room. It was,
she didn't move much. She just stood there, but there was a lot going on.
You're absolutely right, and I think that every singer should. I encourage every up-and-coming singer to study her, in depth, because you can learn a lot for sure.
What's your schedule like, Carol? I know you do gigs not only in Canada, U.S., but you travel around Europe, I'm sure. How many dates a year are you on the road?
Well, actually, I'm probably only out about 45, 50 dates a year at this point. I'm actually, that may go up because we're already, booking up. We've just gotten, we're going to Tokyo to play at the Cotton Club in Tokyo over Christmas now for 4 nights, and that just came up about a week ago. And I'm traveling to Canada and parts of the U.S. too in the new year. But I have to say that I'm becoming a little bit more picky as to where I go and for how long, because I have a 10th anniversary marriage this year, and I love we have a beautiful home in Los Angeles, and I'm starting to really like staying home. But no, I still will tour, of course. But we've done tours in the past in Japan. We did a Benny Goodman, Peggy Lee tribute concert tour with Ken Poplawski and a 14-piece band traveling, doing 22 concerts, and I'd be gone for a month. And that's a little too long for me now. I'm getting to be a little more picky.
Yeah, Ken's been down here. He's a regular down in our area, so that must have been a lot of fun to do that. But yeah, I agree with you there. I talked to a lot of performers, and they say that the performing is fun, but getting there is what you get paid for, right? Traveling.
You're absolutely, you're right. And working with Ken is always so much fun. I mean, we really have. He's such a wonderful player and a great man. But you're right. Yes, we luckily the tours in Japan were very, very well organized, and were very well taken care of, and the musicians jump at the chance to come over. But it's true, I prefer now, and these days we're able to sort of pan it out where we're playing. Incidentally, I'm playing next week. We're playing at Blues Alley on the 4th of November in D.C., and then I'm making my debut at Birdland on the 5th of November in New York.
Oh, great! That's one of the legendary places in New York City.
Yes, I know, and I've been to Birdland for a music industry cocktail event at some point where they were showcasing some artists and everything. But I went to see one show there, but I've never stepped on the stage, so I've got a few nerves going over that one, but it'll be fun.
Did you ever get to meet, speaking of Birdland, Lullaby Birdland, George Shearing?
I did. Do you know, Doug, I was so lucky because George Shearing used to come to Toronto and stay with Don Thompson, the great bass player, who's a very good friend of mine, and I was very lucky to be invited over. He said, anytime you want to meet George, come on over. So I'd go over for tea, and we actually had a session down in his basement in the recording studio where he was. He listened to me play the piano and sing, and then he accompanied me on a song, and I had to pinch myself because I thought, I know I'm going to wake from this dream, and it won't be true, but it is true. And he also came. He was in town when we were mixing my Swing Ladies Swing Orchestra CD, and he wanted to come to the studio to listen to Jimmy Dale's arrangements, and just loved it. So I feel very fortunate that I did meet him.
Yeah, great talent, and you almost forgot that he couldn't see. I mean, he never really, you saw the glasses on, but you just forgot about it. So so great on stage.
It's so true. He played with such, it just sounded as light as a feather, and with such ease and such soul, and oh boy, and he's a very soulful person too. He's just, he was extremely. I say he is a soulful person because he'll always live on for me.
Sure. He and Mel Torme did some great albums together. I don't know if you ever heard of them together and performed together. I saw them a couple of times. They worked incredibly well together.
You're right. Yeah, I remember seeing them at Roy Thompson Hall here in Toronto, and in fact, I think Don Thompson was touring with them as well. And actually, I'm managed by Dale Sheets, who my manager was Mel Torme's manager for 35 years.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Yes. So they actually run his estate, and so they, apparently the Christmas song that Mel Torme wrote is 70 years old this year.
That's right. I know he's mid-40s, so I guess it was 45 he wrote. Wow. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Nice residual for the estate.
Oh my gosh, you're not kidding. I know they still license it out to Target for a Christmas commercial or whomever, and I know that's still one of the most popular. I think it's the most popular Christmas song of all time.
I think that and White Christmas got to be the 1 and 2, right? Sure. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's another one that's a real wow.
That's what you need to do. Write a Christmas song, Carol, and you never have to work again.
You're right. Okay, guys, let's get together after the show.
That's it.
Anyway, I know. I guess everybody dreams of doing that, but anyway, I have to say one of the highlights for my songwriting career has been having Celine Dion cover a song that I wrote with an Italian friend of mine. It's a song called "This Lullaby." She calls it "Baby Close Your Eyes."
Oh, okay.
It was on her 2004 album called, I never forget. It's an album of lullabies in any case, and it's really, really pretty. So, and there are baby pictures all over the album, and it was a nice moment for her. So
that's great.
That's pretty impressive to somebody sing your song that's that well known.
The name of the CD, Carol's newest, is called Alone Together, and you can get it, I guess, at all the places like Amazon and that. Or you want to give it a website? I guess your website would probably be the best, right? You want to give that out?
Sure. CarolWelsman.com, and it's Welsman with one L. I remind everybody that you can certainly listen to the songs on the website, and there are links to purchase on iTunes and Amazon and anywhere else that they sell actual physical albums now.
Great, and congratulations, happy anniversary, and Mazel Tov, and all that. 10 years, that's pretty good nowadays.
well, thank you so much, and I really waited a long time, and so did my husband, and so I guess we finally met up, and we're extremely compatible and have a wonderful marriage, I must say. So I do feel very blessed.
Is he a musician also?
No, he's a criminal defense lawyer.
Oh, okay.
And, he's in a completely different business. But he also does civil work as well. But he actually opened the first comedy club years ago in Arkansas, where he's from.
Oh, wow.
So he did get a taste of the entertainment business. So he's very respectful of what I do, and enjoys coming out to cheer the fans on and everything with him. So he's great.
And you're able to miss each other a little bit when you're on the road, so that keeps it going, right?
That's true.
I've heard that.
I love it. And no, you're right. I think that's a very important aspect of this, that we always look forward to getting back together. So it's true. We don't tire of each other.
And you're alone together. See, it all ties together.
I I love that title. I think it's great. Anyway, well, thank you.
Well, Carol, real pleasure to talk to you. And again, hopefully we can get you back down here at the Jazz Festival real soon, or somewhere here in the Tampa Bay area. But it's been fun to talk to you, and let's not wait 5 or 6 years before we do it again.
I hope we don't. I look forward to it, and would look forward to seeing you as well.